Welcome, friends. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I'm Jerry Usher, your host, along with the co-host, the other great host. She's the better half of the two hosting team, Debbie Georgiani, and you and the show team and affiliates. It's a great Tuesday so far, and we are off and running. Debbie, going to present another topic that we know our listeners are going to just have a lot to say about.
We are. You're too kind, Jerry, but I know you're just doing that because it's the Feast of the Guardian Angels, and you know how much I love the Guardian Angels, so you're probably just giving me a nice treat there today, but I appreciate it very, very much. And it is the Feast of the Guardian Angels. I don't know why we're not talking about it, but other shows are. You know how much we love the Guardian Angels, but just please enlist your angel to help you on the path of holiness. They will guard you. They will guide you. Psalm 91. Okay, that's my little plug there for the Guardian Angels. But you're right, Jerry. Today's show is something different, and it is equally as important in the sense of for our spiritual life, and that is talking about if we can truly. Now let's use this term maybe loosely or lightly. If we can really laugh at ourselves during this journey of life, okay, and our spiritual walk, and really, sin is no laughing matter. It's not, okay. But when you look back on some of the foolish choices you've made, or some of the silly things you've thought about what you think God thinks of you, and maybe your perfectionist state of mind weighs in, and you think about these things later and you're thinking, what was I thinking? God's not like that, or God doesn't wish that for me, or these silly choices I've made, this is not putting me in the right path. You know, can you really laugh at yourself about this and look back and try to lighten up the journey a little bit for yourself? I hope that's where we're going with it, Jerry, because I've been really praying about this and contemplating it. And actually, I looked back on my 50 plus years, and I've been belly laughing about it, to be honest with you. So I don't know if that's where you were going with this idea, but I like it.
Well, what I would do is contrast it to maybe the opposite. Are you such a person? Maybe you're a perfectionist. Maybe you're a little bit rough on yourself. Maybe a little bit rigid, and you have a little foible here and there. Maybe it's not a sin. Maybe it is a small sin. You want to take it to confession. But, you know, we're human nature. We're made in human nature. And I had a seminary professor, one of his favorite lines was, God bless the human condition. And he would say it with a chuckle, and he was probably referring to us, the students in his classroom, messing up on exams and stuff like that. But, yeah, really, let's look at this, as a contrast. Perfectionism is really something that we don't want to fall into because we are human. We're weak. We're going to make mistakes. As Debbie said at the start, we want to strive for holiness, okay? We want to strive for holiness, to please God, to do His will, to grow in the virtues and all of that. But along the way, we make mistakes, and we want to take them seriously. But have this image, Debbie, in your mind. You got your parents, and you got kids that are around, and they're playing, and one of the kids does, maybe grabs a toy out of the other kid's hand. It's not really right to do. It's not a sin. It's not a crime. And the parents just kind of look and chuckle about that, because they think to themselves, hey, we did that when we were kids, So this is kind of the idea today. Again, not laughing at sin, but just laughing at ourselves and who we are, and not taking ourselves too seriously so that we get sullen and glum, and the Christian life just becomes a burden instead of a joy.
Well, and not only that, Jerry, we can also fall into scrupulosity, which is a real problem. It really weighs you down. You talk about being a burden. It's hard to manage scrupulosity, to distinguish between what is right and wrong, and then you fall into that perfectionist state, and then you start to think everything is wrong, and you're not doing well with God, and then you lose your trust in God, because that's where it comes from, and it's really a difficult thing to deal with. I know because I have several family members that have scrupulosity, and I can even be borderline to that as well. I have that, I guess, predisposition or whatever, and it's a difficult thing. And I had a pastor one time that I worked for. He said, it's unfortunate because there's so many people in the confession lines over and over and over again with the exact same sin, and there's nothing wrong with that on the surface. But when you go deeper, it's really troubling because that person is not able to forgive themselves. They're not accepting the forgiveness from God, and so they carry this with them. And you're right, Jerry. The spiritual life can be very burdensome, and God didn't intend for us to have it be that way. So this is going to be, I think, a very healthy discussion, and one that we can all learn from. So we're going to ask you now to weigh in on this. What are your thoughts about this, about your own life? Can you look back and kind of chuckle at some of the silly things you did and maybe not take it so seriously, but also understand that sin is very serious. So you have to have that healthy balance. Here's the number: 1-833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
Other ways you can get a hold of us: by text. Text the letters EWTN to 55000. And we're streaming live the video on Facebook and YouTube. And you can text. I said text. You can also, what's the other one? It's the, I'm missing one, Debbie.
Which one? I'm sorry. The text?
Never mind. Yeah, it's late in the week already. See, I just laughed at myself. That's it. I didn't do that on purpose, but that's an example. And listen, here's another. This might get the phone started ringing even more. We got some lines coming in, but where is it? It's on the one of the social media platforms. Michael, who watches on YouTube, Michael says, I can laugh at myself. If you've ever seen me swing a golf club, you know God has a sense of humor. All right? So, Michael, we're not talking about the moral arena here. Michael's simply talking about hobby, recreation. And he laughs at himself at the way he swings a golf club. Adam says, I think that's why self-deprecation works so well for humor, because the people who tell those jokes can laugh at themselves. So we're not talking about just, if we break one of the commandments or commit a sin or something. This includes anything in life that you do, and, maybe it doesn't go quite as you had planned, or it kind of gets messed up or something. Do you have the ability to stop and look at that and just kind of chuckle and say, well, that didn't go so well. I'll do that better next time.
Back to Michael, just to lighten up about oneself, but back to Michael and swinging the golf club. Jerry, I take that very seriously, so I don't know if I would be laughing at that. Okay, just kidding. Folks,
you who were going to be a pro at one time, right?
Yeah, if you don't know, I was born to play golf, so there you go. No, but I'm just teasing. But it's good to, it really is good to lighten up. And I just wanted to say, too, I mentioned at the beginning of the show about guardian angels, and I know we are getting some calls coming in possibly about guardian angels. If you want to talk about that as well, too, we can do that, because our guardian angels help us along the road, and I'm sure they bring a lot of laughter to our lives as we go on this journey. So we can really talk about anything you'd like. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and when we come back, we're going to Stacy and the others.
It is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Rich Jesse running the board, the operations there. Jeff Burson doing social media, gathering all of your comments off the platforms. And I'm not sure who we have screening today. Could be Ryan or one of the Michaels. So we'll get that information and pass that along to you. But we also want to remind you real quickly about something that is coming up, and it is Morning Glory. Morning Glory, tomorrow morning, 7 Eastern Time. It's the daily show on EWTN Radio, 7 Eastern Time. I confess, Debbie, you may be in the same boat. I don't listen to it very often because that's 4 o'clock in the morning where I am. And I'm already in the middle of my 3-hour levitation in front of the Blessed Sacrament at that time. No, I'm not.
Are you?
No, I'm just kidding.
Are you trying to be?
I'm still sleeping.
You're still sleeping, right? I got it.
But it's a great show.
That was a little humor there. I take it. Okay. May I just let I hope we can share this. Okay. Ryan is running the phones. Ryan is doing the phones today. Jeff is running the boards, and Rich is home taking care of his wife because apparently she broke her foot. Jerry, remember we were praying for her yesterday.
Yeah.
So Laura broke her foot. That Rich Jesse, our producer. So please pray for Rich's wife because that's really hard to have a broken foot and take care of a little toddler.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've got open phone lines. This is very unusual here, and this is no laughing matter, okay? We really need you to call in at 833-288-3986 and talk about how you can have that joy, have that laughter along this spiritual journey. I mean, God wants us to have life and to have it to the full, and that means humor. That means laughter. That means taking things lightly. That means, enjoying the journey. Can you really jump in on this? And if you'd like to talk about guardian angels, we're open to that as well because it is the feast of the guardian angels, and we can't ignore them because we love them so very, very much. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call. And as promised, Stacy is first in Charlotte, North Carolina on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for being first up on Take Two.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun. And Sirius is a laughing matter. No, I was trying to make a joke on the radio station.
Right.
But it didn't work. But I love Morning Glory. Since you put a plug in for Morning Glory, I do listen. And she's so lighthearted and from South Carolina, I think, and just wonderful show. Great way to start the day. Catholic way to start the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I was calling because years ago, before I had any kids, I had a girlfriend who was the youngest of 12 children, and I had, never heard of that in my life. And so I asked her some questions, and one of them was where do y'all take a shower, your bathroom, and thinking, locker room style. And she was so patient and sweet. We have, a couple of bathrooms. And, well, fast forward 30 years later, I have 12 children, and you do not know how many times I've laughed at myself over that question and how patient and sweet Kate was her name to me. And that's how I try and be to people who ask me, goofy things.
Wow.
That's my little funny.
Yeah, God bless you, Stacy, and your husband for those 12 kids. That's a great blessing for all of you, and it's a great blessing for the world and for the church as well. So thank you for that. Debbie may have a comment on what you shared, but I just wanted to say one thing that was not a laughing matter was the hurricane there, and was wondering how you guys came out of that. I hope you didn't suffer any damage or anything.
Oh, thanks for asking. I'll tell you, there were a lot of prayer warriors going, and that slowed down the hurricane. I was here for Hugo, and we did have a lot. That was 29 years ago. And, no, we did have some flooding in the streets of Charlotte. My brother lives in New Bern, and he had about 2 feet of water in his house. That's where the hurricane came in. But thank you. I think we did okay. Anyway. So we're fine, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, we are so glad about that because we've been praying. So that's awesome. But, back to what Jerry was said about you being the mom of 12 children. God bless you. That is beautiful. I always wanted and prayed for a huge family. God had other plans for me, and I had to kind of laugh at that as well. He's saying, "Okay, Lord, whatever you say." But you're just so blessed. And then, but I think what's beautiful about it is you had this encounter when you were younger with this friend who was one of 12, and then you went on to have 12 in your family. And I just think, how beautiful is that? It's almost like God gave you a little snippet of what it was like to know of a family of 12, a big family, and then you got to experience it. I do believe in my heart of hearts, Stacy, tell me if you agree with this, that when we meet Jesus, he's going to have an incredible sense of humor. I just believe it. I just do. I'm just curious. What do you think? What do you think of that?
Well, I think that since we're made in God's image and likeness, that I have to agree because he gave us our sense of humor. And I think it is to help lighten the load of some, I've had some I've got a lot of kids, and if you one kid, now you got 12. There's a lot of things that can happen. And, when you have a kid walking up with his teeth knocked out at age 5, from the creek, and he's like, but I can move them back in place, Mom. I mean, all you can do is laugh, because what are you going to do, freak out? And then you can't manage the situation. So I think that God gives us our sense of humor to help manage life situations like that, but also to help as a gentle way to help instruct us, because just using the little example I gave you, that taught me humility for one thing, but it's also helped me deal with my neighbor, because you can imagine we get lots of different questions. And but I always think back to that 30 years ago, and I just chuckle at myself. And when somebody asks me a question, I just, patiently answer and laugh and tell them what I was like before. I'll just say, well, you won't believe, but I used to think that they would locker room style shower.
Right.
And no, we don't do that.
Great stuff, Stacy. Thanks for getting us started here on the phone.
Yeah. Oh, a great show. And I just came back from France, where you would not, and Lasso, and I went to Mass on Sunday. My guardian angel, since you're talking about that, arranged everything. I thought I was going to go to Mass at one time. I did not know where we were going to go because our circumstance changed. And so I was prompted, well, just see where the closest church is. It was St. Catherine of Labouraise's, the Miraculous Metal Chapel. That's where my angel put me for Sunday. I could almost cry, and just so beautiful. And
wow.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And I mentioned
You're
that
blessed.
because you mentioned the hurricane, and people all around Europe were asking me about the hurricane.
Right.
So I had to laugh.
Well, bless you, Stacy. Yeah, bless you. Thank you for coming on with us, Stacy. Be a caller again in the future. We love to hear from you and all of our listeners. And glad that you didn't suffer too much, any real serious damage from the hurricane there recently. Our prayers continue to be, of course, with all those who didn't come out quite so well. And I know you all are praying and obviously helping them out, Stacy, as well. Thank you so much. Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Can you laugh at yourself, Vicki? Can you laugh at yourself in Duluth, Minnesota, listening on Real Presence Radio? Hi, Vicki.
Hi. Absolutely. But where we used laughter and joy was when my husband was ill, and the last 5 years of his life, I was his caregiver, and we turned everything into a sense of humor. I mean, you had to. We laughed at things that were not appropriate to laugh at, but we had a great time, and without the laughter, and very importantly, without not blaming God for our situation, but thanking God, that just changed everything. Changed everything, and it made it doable. And I know people will say, "Well, that's easy for you to say," but actually, I was in a really hard position, and we just used joy and laughter and just laughing at things that no one else would think were funny. But even his limitations, we made, I don't want to say fun of it because that's not what it is, but we made it into something joyous.
Right. Well, Vicki, I can totally relate to that right now in my current position as caregiver for my mother who's got dementia. We laugh all the time about the silliest, oddest things. And every time we end up in the hospital, we're just constantly laughing. And the doctors are like, what are you doing? You guys are crazy. But you know what? It's not. I think it's just a release of kind of the tension and the uneasiness or the unknown of what to expect. And I think laughter, it does release those feel-good hormones. And I think it also just relaxes the situation and makes it bearable. And it sounds like that's how you coped through that as well. And I think that's very healthy. I think there's a beautiful thing about just a genuine sense of just releasing that and just having a joyful spirit going through things, even when it's not going to end up particularly good. It makes it that much more bearable. So it sounds like you agree with that. Anything else you'd love to say about that? Because I think that could help a lot of people that are listening right now, Vicki.
Well, absolutely. But even to the point when you reminded me, my sister has early Alzheimer's, and I was helping her move, and she found a whole bunch of glasses that anyway, she goes, what are these? She had no idea why she had a whole bunch of them. And I said, well, those are called glasses. And I knowing she was just early Alzheimer's, so she did know they were glasses. But we laughed at the fact. I said, those are glasses. She goes, no, I know that, but why? But the fact that we just laughed at the fact that, and when she gets worse, she may not know what glasses are. But the fact that she could even laugh at the fact that she couldn't, the way she said it was funny. And I know that doesn't come across the right way, but we laugh at that. And I think it kind of makes Satan upset when we're laughing at things that we're supposed to be cursing God for.
Right,
and
right.
Today's reading was Job at Mass, and I'm thinking, we're not going to curse God.
Right. Who was the saint? Vicki, you help me, or Debbie? I think it was Saint Philip Neri. Wasn't he the priest who used a lot of humor and laughter? And when he died, they exhumed his body, or they checked his body, and he had an enlarged heart. His heart had enlarged so much that it had actually, I think, broken a couple of his ribs in his rib cage.
Oh, interesting.
I'm hoping I'm recalling that right, but I think it was St. Philip Neri. If anybody knows about that story, and if I got any of the details wrong, please correct me on that. But yeah, so humor, and you got to have it. You got to have it in our lives. Can't be sullen all the time and walking around glum and dejected. Jesus said he came to give us life, and life to the fullest. So, All right, Vicki, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vicki.
Take two with Jerry and Debbie, talking about, can you laugh at yourself? When you make a little foible, it doesn't have to be a sin. It could be just something you do in life, and it kind of misfires or backfires, and you just kind of look at the situation in yourself, and you go, you know what, next time I'll get that. We're going to go to Ron in Los Angeles to take two with Jerry and Debbie. Ron has us on Sirius Satellite Radio. Ron, how you doing?
Good morning, you two. How are you guys doing out there?
Hi,
Doing
Ron.
as
Good.
well as we can be. Thank you.
How are you?
Well, I can say that I'm still alive and kicking and got a sense of humor in the midst of all this chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step in the right direction.
True. Well, you have a very I think you have a very neat sense of humor. I actually like the way, even though you go through so much on a daily basis, Ron, I love the way you still keep that lightheartedness about you, which is a beautiful thing. So share a little bit more about that. How do you do that? Because you deal with a lot, Ron, and Ron's been a friend of ours for many years. Actually, goes way back with Jerry, even before that. But Ron, share a little bit about how you can. I mean, in the midst of the storm, how do you keep that joy?
Well, in the midst of being a runner by choice, simply because I've had so many enemies, I've had to make a run for it. I've had the heart condition that I've had to fight with for 7.5 years, and every day that I can still survive an attack is at least a joyful moment. I have a parent that I'm a caregiver for who has multiple issues, and I'm spending probably about half the night trying to clean up the messes along the way. So if I didn't have a sense of humor, I would be a gripeaholic. I would do all kinds of things and getting real nasty. So it's not worth it. You can't get to heaven by being a griper.
Very
Good point.
true.
Wow. Well, my chances are slim then. Come on, I was hoping for an earlier. You all thought I was serious. Well, actually, maybe I was serious. I don't know. But Ron, you don't.
It's all a matter of perspective. If you look at every minute of life is a grateful moment when God gives us the opportunity to be able to love Him more and more, and to understand that we are not ourselves if we're in Satan's corner, as it were, just kind of griping about things that we don't have, what we can't do. We got to think about what we can do, who we're doing it for, why we're doing things we are. And if we try to do it in a joyful way in the midst of the total chaos, and it can be extremely painful, if you could do that, you're a step ahead.
You're right, Ron. And I have a deal with God. I have a deal made with Him. What I do is I have Him put earmuffs on or put earplugs in so He can't hear what I'm saying. And I say, God, don't listen to my mouth, my lips. Watch my feet. Listen to my feet. Don't listen to my mouth. Listen to my feet. Because my mouth can be constantly grumbling when I'm going through a trial, but I take the next step and the next step and the next step. Somehow I keep on going by His grace. So we have that deal there. I ask God, just watch what I do. I may grumble a little bit here, and then I'm thinking, oh, the Israelites in the desert, and what God did to them there, and I'm thinking, okay, I better, kind of cut back on the grumbling. But yeah, Ron, you always are able to kind of laugh at your life circumstances. So we are grateful for that, and grateful to have you a listener of the program, Debbie. And We are going to get set for some more calls here in a minute.
Couldn't
Thanks,
agree,
Ron.
Yes, couldn't agree more, Ron. We just love you and value every single time that you call in and share your takes on things. So thank you so much. Be well, and we'll be talking to you soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Okay, so we're talking about how can you keep this joyful sense of humor and spirit as you are walking through life and getting closer to God. How do you do it? Can you look back on your life and think of all the silly things that you did, and you think, why was I even wasting my time thinking about that? Okay, we want to explore this from all angles. That's what Take Two is all about. So here's the number, 833-288-3986. And after this short break, when we come back, we're going back to the phones because you drive the show here at Take Two.
We love having you with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. And we always like to thank the affiliates. Those are the stations and the networks that have picked up the program from EWTN. And we are very, very thankful that you've done that. We'd love to go to the calls and you get to hear your station with a shout out from one of your listeners. So thank you so much, and everybody at the show team here. And you, the listeners, you're the ones who make this show what it is. And we're talking today about can you laugh at yourself if you make a little bit of a mistake, not even necessarily a sin. Maybe it could be a small sin, and you want to go and confess that. But, maybe it's something you struggle with over and over again. And you kind of go, gosh, you chuckle about it. Not that it's funny, but just the frustration kind of chuckle, Or if it's just something in life, you try and bake a cake for your son's birthday and it falls or something, Debbie, I think one of the important reasons that we wanted to do a show like this is because, as we started out earlier saying, so many things in life happen like this, and we have to be, I think, in a place with ourselves and with other people, have that comfort level and have that, I guess, degree of humility, to say, if something didn't work out the way we wanted, just go, oh, man, just kind of shake your head and laugh at it and then give it another try, right? Mm-hmm. Is that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think this is a perfect topic for today for the guardian angels, because I've been reading a lot about different people's posts, especially some Catholic bloggers talking about their understanding of angels. And remember, what we've accumulated from angels comes from obviously Scripture, and then the Summa, and then the Padre Pio's stories of saints and the saints' stories of angels and Padre Pio's story of his communication with angels. But it's just interesting. I just wanted to share this, Jerry, because it fits in so beautifully with our topic today. One of these Catholic bloggers was saying that, probably our guardian angels are laughing at us right now. And because they are so smart, they find things very humorous. And he goes on to say, the more knowledge you know, the more puns you can make, the more things are ironic, and you are amused by more things. Angels aren't laughing at us to be mean. They're just amused by all of the weird things that we do. I assume that my guardian angel can never stop laughing because I'm so weird. This is what this particular Catholic blogger said. But it's so true when you think about it, because they're probably, they know instantaneously. They know they have such a developed intellect, a heightened senses and everything. So they can see things all at once. They don't have to use logic and process things out moment to moment the way we do as human beings. And so they are probably, our guardian angels probably standing beside us going, what were you thinking with that? And just cracking up, because we do make these mistakes over and over again, and we are very hard on ourselves. And so thank goodness we have this companion with us that is maybe encouraging us to lighten up a bit. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to interject that to the conversation.
Yeah, and before we go to Claudette and then Mary, I just want to. This is reading into Scripture. I'm gonna state that right up front. It's not in the Bible, but I'm gonna go from what is in the Bible. The shortest verse in all of Scripture is Jesus wept, and I've said this on the show. If our Lord, who was fully man and fully God, if he had all human emotions, if he wept, then he certainly must have laughed. And Debbie, there had to have been times. This is my own, personal thought on this. There had to be times when Jesus is traveling around with the apostles from town to town, and they're all human, and they probably, joked and made little, they were arguing with each other, who's going to be the best, and they were all just very human. And there were times when Jesus probably let them, go a few yards ahead of him, and he's just kind of slowly walking in the sandals behind them, and he's just going, just kind of shaking his head and chuckling. These guys are going to get it one of these days.
Right, exactly.
They'll figure it out, yeah.
They'll figure it out. Very, very true, Jerry. I love that. I'm glad you shared that. That's perfect. Okay, so we're going to cover some social media, or are we going to go back to the phones?
Well, let's get a call or two. Yeah, then we'll get to some social media.
Okay, so Claudette is up next in Manchester, New Hampshire, on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Claudette. Thank you so much for waiting, and welcome to Take Two.
Hello. I'm calling from the Boston. I was listening to the Boston station, 1060 a.m. I was just flicking through the station, and I heard a rosary, and that's what made me pay attention to the station.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. There's no accident to that, Claudette. So tell us what you think
That's
about this
right.
topic. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think about all this, about infusing humor into our daily lives?
Well, there was a perfect example of that in my life. Bishop William Gomes from India, when he first came to the United States as a retired bishop to help with the confirmations, my father met him, and he was the police officer that was guarding a statue at Londonderry, not far from where we live. And Bishop Gomes, when he landed in Boston, said, well, I'm going to Londonderry. And that's how they met, and my father taught him how to drive, and he always joked about how he was driving on the wrong side of the road. And another story, he said, and with all his homilies, he would include very good humor that wouldn't hurt anybody, but it was just something. One of the stories that stuck with me was he had a beautiful big hat, and he was so proud of it, and it did the job of keeping the sun out, but he really liked this hat. Of course, it was an expensive hat. Somebody ran through the crowd, grabbed the hat, and went running into the crowd, and then he laughed at himself and realized, is this hat going to make any difference in eternity? And God bless his soul, he has passed away since. And I would like to promote 15-decade rosary for 54 days for all the priests living and dead, that we can have more really good lessons in clean humor, in making us realize how, God's not that strict on us. And if we do this 15-decade for 54 days for all priests living and dead, the first 27 days you say please, and the second 27 days you thanking and miracles happen. And you can use this for other themes in the future, but you can start at any time you want and promote this because it's so powerful with God.
Mm. Well, there you go. You have, Claudette, you've issued a challenge to anybody who wants to take you up on that. 54-day novena, all, what you said, 15 decades every day, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's the joyful, the sorrowful, and the glorious.
Yeah. Well, for anyone who can fit that in, and we know that not everybody can because of your state in life, but Claudette has put a challenge out there for all of our priests, living and deceased. And so those of us who can take that up, let's definitely do that. And love what you said about the bishop putting humor in each of his homilies. I've known priests who have done that. And I find that it can be very, very helpful. I will say this. There have been a lot of priests that I thought they told jokes that were, I don't want to say off color or something, but just seemed to be kind of a little bit gratuitous in kind of trying to stimulate the interest of the audience or the congregation. And I'm not saying that this bishop did that, but my uncle, for example, who was a 55-year priest, Redemptorist missionary in Thailand, he loved humor. He loved humor. His favorite comic strip was The Born Loser. Claudette, Debbie, do you remember that one? The Born Loser?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about this, the main character, Claudette, is a gentleman who goes through life, and it's whatever could go wrong does go
It
wrong
happened.
in
It was
his
like a
life
cloud
each and every
over
day.
his
Yeah,
life. Yeah.
but they're very, very, very cute. Yeah, so Google it sometime. The Born Loser comic. Yeah.
So
Anyway,
your uncle used to reference that in his homilies?
he may have referenced it, yeah, but he loved to collect them. I knew that he collected them, and he would always send out his Easter and Christmas letters, and he would Xerox that onto part of the letter. He'd have a couple Born Loser comic strips on there.
Okay, I think that is so cool. Yeah, that's so sweet. Well, Claudette, I just love your invitation that you, and you know, if you listen to Take Two, you know that pretty much the majority of people that listen to Take Two, we love prayer, we value prayer, we believe in the power of prayer. So I think you're going to get a lot of folks joining you with that wonderful invitation out there, and I think it's a great thing. So there was no accident that you were listening. There's no accident that you called in. It was meant to be, and it's a perfect day for you to call in, especially on the Feast of the Guardian Angels, which they are constantly pushing us towards holiness. They're constantly helping us, guarding us and guiding us, and that's what they want. And prayer is part of that, to lift up the priesthood. I mean, you said it all. I just love it. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks for calling. Yep. Thank you, Claudette. Thanks for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. That will open up a phone line. How do you incorporate humor, laughter into your life, especially at times when you either make, I don't want to say a mistake, but something just doesn't go quite as you planned. And, here's an example. Here's a perfect example. When I was a child, I was a boy, I was about 8 or 9 years old. My mom sent me to the grocery store. She says, go get a head of lettuce. And Debbie, you probably already know where this is going. So I come home. I am as proud as can be. And I said, Mom, look, I got the hardest head of lettuce they had in the whole store. And she feels it. She goes, well, that's really nice, Jerry, but this is a cabbage. And so, I had to laugh at that. You see, it was a little foible. It wasn't a sin. It was just something that
It's in
didn't
the
go
same family, sort of.
according to plan. Yeah.
Yeah,
So anything like that, folks. If you have been able to laugh at yourself, if you can laugh at yourself, if you can't laugh at yourself, maybe you're stuck in that area. Call and maybe we can talk that through a little bit. 833-288. 3986. Okay, where are we going next?
So instead of you guys having salad for dinner, you had coleslaw.
We had coleslaw, yeah,
right.
or boiled cabbage or something.
Or boiled cabbage or something of that nature.
No,
Like that.
I probably got sent back to get a head of lettuce.
Oh, you did?
Probably, yeah.
She probably said, you march right back there and get a head of lettuce. There you go. I love it. Okay, Mary, you're up next in South Bend, Indiana on Redeemer Radio. Welcome, Mary, to Take Two.
Hi, my name's Marianne, actually.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, we love Marianne.
I have a guardian angel story.
Okay.
So, I was a Catholic school teacher, and in the year 2000, the Jubilee year, I decided to take a year off and just meditate and get centered again on the Lord so that I could go back to teaching. And I ended up volunteering at our local convent and was up there for 3 years. And I was praying for the kindergarten teacher I had worked with, and because she was trying to get pregnant. And I was 45, and she was just in her 20s. And she ended up getting pregnant. and I ended up getting pregnant a month later. And so I had a bonus baby at 45, and we sent our youngest off to college, and we thought, oh, we're going to have a good time now. We're going to travel and do all these things because we had 4 children we raised. And so long story short, we went to Ireland. I was sick the whole time, came back and found out that I was expecting my son. And I had prayed the guardian angel novena, the novena to the guardian angel the whole time because it was somewhat of a rough pregnancy. I almost lost him at one point. And they actually said, well, since I was 45, there might be complications. They induced me on the Feast of the Archangels. And so I was so excited. I'm going to have this baby, this bonus baby on the Feast of the Archangels. Well, it didn't work. And they sent me home for the weekend, said, if you don't go into labor, we're going to have to do a C-section. And I'm really not good with needles. And so I was very scared about that. And I woke up on Monday morning. It was the Feast of the Archangels, who I'd been praying to the whole time. And he was born naturally on the Feast of the Archangels. And so today, he's 15.
So you mean today on today's feast? So today your son is 15?
On the Feast of the Archangel, or the Guardian Angels.
Guardian Angels, right.
I had been praying the novena
Gotcha.
the whole time to the Guardian Angels.
Gotcha,
But
because the Archangels was a couple days ago.
Right, and they induced me on that day. So he would have been born on the Archangels, but the induction didn't work. And so instead, he was born on the Feast of the Guardian Angels, which was perfect because they were the ones I was communicating with the whole time.
That's right. So happy birthday to your son. Does he have his first name or a middle name of Michael or Gabriel or Raphael?
Nope.
or no? Okay.
He's John Paul Joseph.
John Paul Joseph. I love it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, the angel, he has his guardian angel. Happy birthday to your son. That is just beautiful. And that's how the angels are pulling for us. They're there for us. And you did that novena to the archangels, and how wonderful it is. They're not going to let us down. They're here for us. That's their mission. That is their ministry. And it's such a beautiful thing, Marianne, because you tapped into that. And many people don't even realize their presence and their mission. And that's unfortunate, because it's a gift that was given to us by God, and we should value that. We should utilize that to help us get to heaven. And it sounds like the angels are going to always be instrumental in your son's life. And I love how you called him the bonus baby, because I guess I would be considered that too. I'm the youngest of 6, and I came many years after my 5 brothers and sisters, and I never considered that a bonus baby. But now I'm going to go tell my mother right after the show, Mom, did you realize I was a bonus baby? That's kind of cool. I like that term. So thank you for that, Marianne.
Well, and that actually came from the nuns, because they were so excited that I got pregnant for John Paul up at the convent. It was like I had been praying up there all that time, and then all these nuns started coming out with their stories, and they would say, well, I was the bonus baby in my family. And so then, it was just added to the joy that, here I am, an older mother, but he gave me a bonus baby. And we had this little chapel that we were allowed to pray in at the convent, Our Lady of Grace. What a beautiful name for the chapel, right? And I prayed there every day after work. And at one point, my youngest daughter had gone off she went to Oregon, all the way to Oregon. And so I was just brokenhearted. My kids' childhoods were all over. We were alone. And I was praying in front of the tabernacle, and I said, Lord, you did it for so many people in the Old Testament. Just give me one more chance. And he did. He heard that prayer, and he honored it. And then, and the Feast of the Guardian Angels was just another confirmation.
Wow. How beautiful, Marianne. Absolutely beautiful. And you sound like you have been a great mom, and you're just a wonderful woman of God as well. And we're going to be praying for you. And as we always ask all of our listeners, if you would be so kind as to keep me and Debbie and the show team, Rich, Jeff, Michael, and Ryan, and everybody at EWTN in your prayers. We would be very grateful for that, and we thank you for joining us on the program today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I want to mention, Debbie, real quick. that this program is part of one of EWTN's radio programming feeds or systems, if you will. There's also another one that gets a lot of the classic shows. It's EWTN Radio Classics. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week teaching and devotional channel from EWTN. And they have archives of Mother Angelica. So come on, those of you who loved seeing and hearing Mother Angelica, God rest her soul, all of the stuff that she ever did is archived, and it's available on EWTN Radio Classics. Also, the likes of Archbishop Fulton Sheen, Father Benedict Rochelle, and more. And you will find them at EWTNradio.net and also on the EWTN app. So you're never far away from the archive, the classic shows that you always used to love listening to.
Very true, and you learn something every time you listen. Okay, we were talking about guardian angels. So Karen had asked, how do guardian angels communicate? We could probably go into this in depth, but just as a quick answer, it is thought to thought. It's instantaneous. It's not like they gather around the water cooler and start chit-chatting about who their subject is and who their person that they're with on Earth. It is instantaneous. It's thought to thought, intellect to intellect. They have highly developed intellects. They see everything all at once. It's different. It's a different process from the way we process things and the way we communicate. But according to what we know from stories and especially from Padre Pio, the saints do communicate with one another. So they do communicate, and it's fascinating to think about that. Real quickly, Jerry, I just wanted to say you got a compliment, and I wanted to share it because you will never share it about yourself. So I'll share it for Elizabeth. Elizabeth from Stand Tall, one of our Stand Tall family members, wrote in and said, Jerry, I confirm your St. Philip Neri story. His ribs were broken and grew back together, healing in the shape of an arch to accommodate his large heart. So you were right, Jerry. It was St. Philip Neri. And Elizabeth is the one that you pushed around, Jerry, at the Stand Tall retreat when she was in had to use a wheelchair for part of the retreat. And she said, Jerry is an angel. He makes up for any grumbling. Thanks, Jerry. So Jerry, that was very kind of you to push Elizabeth around, but I know you really wanted to do that, and that was such a beautiful thing. We all watched you do it, Jerry, and it was really kind of you, because that just goes to show that you have a big heart, and so yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. And Elizabeth was just one of the sweetest, dearest people. That we had so many wonderful people on that Stand Tall retreat, which we hope to roll out another one here before too long. I'm glad, though, that you added the part about her being in her wheelchair, because you started to say, Jerry, you pushed her around at the Stand Tall retreat. And then you said in her wheelchair, and I was going to really be in for it from our listeners. I'd be defending myself via email and on the show for the next 6 months if I had pushed around one of our retreatants. So, thanks, Elizabeth. You were really sweet, and thank you for letting me be your angel that day. That was a real blessing for me.
Yeah.
And Jane, we hear from quite often. She says, "Hi, Jerry and Debbie. I cannot ever see anything funny about my sins, but I can laugh when something dumb from my family's past makes us laugh. One example." When I unknowingly backed the car over my son after he impulsively jumped out from the back seat of the car in a race with his brother to save a turtle that we saw on the road. We were on our way to a golf course, Debbie. She adds that there. Self-deprecating humor is easy for me because it is about our humanness, which only a few lucky people get to witness firsthand. But no, I do try to forget and find no humor in sins because I know how regretfully damaging they are. Thank God for second and third and fourth chances. God bless, Jane.
Amen to that, Jane. We agree. Thank God he gives us those chances. Tim, our friend Tim, weighed in, and it just popped off the screen. Do you see it, Jerry? It just went away.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Tim is one of our beautiful Native American listeners, I believe. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. He has shared that with us before. He says, I look at it this way. If I cannot laugh at myself, something is wrong. One example, I used to be cheap Mexican labor as a prisoner of retail, and if I got embarrassed and blushed, no one could tell if I turned red. Okay, so that was an opportunity for Tim, apparently, to laugh at himself in that situation.
And Carolyn said that she's in a wheelchair and can't wear shoes. So she's addicted to purses with a smiley face. Some women have tons of shoes. She has purses. I think that's pretty cool, Carolyn. I like that. I like that. That's a good way to kind of bring a joy into your journey, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome. And Tony says, I can laugh at myself when driving. I get lost, LOL. My husband teases me. I live in Illinois and I can't tell you the number of times I ended up at Lake Michigan. Downtown Chicago streets have changed over the years. I panicked, of course, didn't deem it funny when lost, but thank God I made it home safe and sound. Well, Tony, I'm sure your guardian angel helped you getting back and it got you on the right route back home. So I think that's wonderful. I can agree. You know, we travel, Jerry, all the time from city to city, and everybody has a different way of laying out the city. Like in Arizona, it's all like a grid in right angles. So it's super easy to get around. But you go to some cities and it's difficult. So I can relate to that. And you do have to laugh because remember, Jerry, I've called you a few times. I called you from Pasadena when I was lost. Remember that? I don't know if you remember. And I was panicked because I had to speak in about 20 minutes.
Right. Well, I know nothing funny at all about downtown Chicago streets. Every time I've been in Chicago over the years, it's been maybe half a dozen times, there's always just massive construction going on and traffic backups and everything. So, Tony, I can certainly I can relate to what you say when you say downtown Chicago streets have changed over the years. That is definitely true.
Yeah. So we're talking today about just wondering how you get through your life with a sense of joy, a sense of humor, laughter, just the feeling of just lightening up a bit and not being so hard on yourself, not being so tough. I mean, God is here to pull, he's pulling for us. You know, he wants us to get closer to him. And he's not, you know, this in the sense so many people have such an overwhelming fear in not a positive way, not fear of the Lord, but not in a positive way of not wondering how God is going to react to them. Oh my goodness, God is going to judge me so so hard, and it's going to be so rough on me. And that may be true. You know, we don't know. I mean, God is God. He's going to do what he needs to do. Okay. But we don't have to put that kind of pressure on ourselves when we're trying to do our best. Right, Jerry? I mean, would you agree with that? I mean, sometimes we're thinking way ahead and we're thinking, oh my goodness, God is really going to get me for this one. And maybe he's not.
Right. Yeah, no, that's right. Absolutely right. And I'm going to share, Lisa just emailed take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. And she says, hello, Jerry and Debbie. I know there are no accidents why you had this show. I didn't realize for 44 years until now that my birthday is on the Feast of Guardian Angels. So Lisa is having a birthday today. Happy birthday, Lisa.
Happy birthday, Lisa. Well, and how beautiful is that? And what a beautiful reminder to acknowledge your guardian angels. And we should all be doing that. It's a gift from God. Just look at Psalm 91, folks. It is so very important. Please recognize that your angels are right next to you. Okay, they are there for you. It is their mission. And it's why they exist, and God has placed them as a gift for you. And so you're never alone. And that's an important reminder for all of us, Jerry. That's why I love the angels so very, very much. And if you're born on this day, you're very blessed. It's an exciting day to be born.
I want to mention, too, Eileen just emailed us here 2 minutes ago, and we're just about to close the show. We have been praying, Debbie and I and the Take-Two family, for preemie twin baby girls, Emma and Layla, that Eileen has been updating us on. They were both born way premature, and they were in the hospital. I think they were both in the hospital for weeks, if not months. And they're 2 months old today. Both are over 8 pounds, and both are home, Debbie. So that's good news.
Oh, praise be to God.
Yeah, Layla is still on oxygen, and Eileen would like prayers to continue from all of the Take-Two family. So, dear friends, again, the babies' names are Emma and Layla. They were preemies, and they're 2 months old. They're home. They're about 8 pounds. One of them is still on oxygen. So let's keep those prayers going for those young girls.
Wow, beautiful. Praise be to God. Yes, we got to keep the prayers going. Jerry, you put this show on, this topic on the show calendar for tomorrow. Can you share a little bit about judging? I just want to hear where you're going with this so we can all get prepared for tomorrow.
Yeah, I got the idea from a homily that I heard recently about what it means, how we are to judge, okay? And we want to get into, we don't judge a person's eternal destiny, where the people are going to go. We don't judge their souls. We can certainly judge actions, the fruit of people's lives. But we tend to be very judgmental and rush to judgments about people. So there's different layers of this, Debbie, and I think we're going to peel them all away and have a good talk tomorrow.
Sounds like a good one. So until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.